What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday night. You are tuned in to the Stoned On Sports podcast. My name is Matt. This jabroni with me is Kyle. And tonight we are going to be talking about some two-start pitchers, some under-the-radar guys. You don't need anybody to tell you to start Spencer Strider. But we're going to talk about those dudes who are not the Ron Popeil set it and forget it types. We're also going to hit on a couple waiver wire targets and some dudes who might be dragging your team down a little bit. There's some guys who have not gotten off to all that great of starts, and we're going to highlight a few of those. Kyle, how the hell you doing, buddy?
Doing great. I was off today, so got to watch most of the Tigers doubleheader, and of course they won the first one and just lost the second one in the bottom of the ninth, unfortunately, to the Mets. But 6-1, they were the last undefeated team, but real excited that they're doing pretty well. I'm excited to talk about some fantasy baseball with y'all.
Hell yes. And so we are going to jump right in, and we need to answer the question: to start or not to start? That's right. Two-start pitchers. I'm going to start it off with Spencer Turnbull of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's got the two-step this week at the St. Louis Cardinals and against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He is just 1% owned in Yahoo leagues. If you ask me, those are two pretty, yeah, no kidding. If you ask me, those are two pretty solid matchups. The Phillies offense hasn't woken up quite yet, but we're starting to see some signs of life there. Bryce Harper had his 3 home run game the other day, and I'm thankful for that. But he's somebody who's shown in the past and quite frankly, in his first start, that he can miss some bats. He induces a lot of ground balls. He doesn't allow many fly balls. He does a pretty good job at limiting hard contact as well. And to go along with that, he keeps the ball in the ballpark. He has just a career 0.7 home runs per 9. I'll take that. He looked really good in his first start against the Reds, and that Reds offense has looked pretty well this season. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 unearned run, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 7. If you tell me that he's going to go out there and pitch those 2 games, maybe give up 3 or 4 earned total and strike out a dozen guys or more, I'm a happy camper.
Absolutely. Batting average against was 158, a whip of 0.60. He scored you 22.5 fantasy points. Didn't get the quality start, but got the win because he only pitched the 5 innings. Remember, a quality start is 6 innings and allowing 3 runs or fewer. We are familiar with Spencer Turnbull with his time with the Detroit Tigers as well. Always really liked him. I think he's a great option this week.
Yeah, he's got a no-hitter to his credit, too.
That's true. Okay. Headed to Cincinnati. Graham Ashcraft with the Cincinnati Reds. He's got 2 starts next week. Monday at home versus the Brewers. You know, they're 4-1, but they did most of their damage against a weak Mets team over the weekend. And then the pitches against Saturday at the White Sox. I like that one. A little concerned going against Garrett Crochet as the predicted starter for the White Sox. He's going to need to limit runs in that because Crochet so far has only allowed 2 runs in his 2 starts and 13 innings pitched. In that last start that you were just talking about with Turnbull, Ashcraft was actually the opposing pitcher for the Reds in that one. He got the loss. He did get the quality start, going 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 of them earned, 1 walk, 5 Ks, got you 11.5 fantasy points in CBS standard scoring. Guy was giving up some hard contact with a 77.8 hard hit rate. He did allow 2 home runs in that game. He was featuring his cutter quite a bit, 33% of the time. In the past, if you remember watching him, he'd fuck up and locate that thing upstairs and get hit a ton. But he's starting to showcase a little bit, I'll say blossoming command. I like him for a surprising point total for week 3.
Yeah, and looking at that start, it wasn't all bad. Yeah, he gave up 2 home runs, but just the 1 walk, like you mentioned. He threw 56 of his 85 pitches for strikes, including 12 swinging strikes. So I like that. Anytime you can get some swing and miss there. And dude throws pretty hard overall. I did notice, though, his velocity is down on both his cutter and his sinker. The cutter's down 1 mile an hour. The sinker is 2 miles an hour.
Mhm.
That could just be some early season stuff. I'm not overly concerned with that. And how can you not love the two matchups against the Brewers at the White Sox? The Brewers have scored the 5th fewest runs, the White Sox the fewest.
Mhm. Yep. It's a good matchup. I like it. I think, if he gets 60 points total between the two, well, that'd be our league. If he gets, 42, 45 points total between the two leagues, or between the two starts, I should say, I'd love that. 20 points each.
Hell yes.
Be great.
We got somebody else to talk about, too. We're going to run through 4 of them. We're halfway home. Next cat up, Reynaldo Lopez of the Atlanta Braves. He's kind of an interesting one. He's coming in at just 20% owned. He's not been a starter since 2019 when he was with the White Sox, where he allowed a league high 110 earned runs. Doesn't really instill a whole lot of confidence in him. But he's somebody, he earned the 5th starter role out of spring training. I don't know how long of a leash he's going to have, though, just because the Braves have some arms in the minors. But these are two struggling offenses. We talked just here at the Open about the Mets and their lack of ability to put some runs on the board. And we saw it again today. Yeah, the weather kind of sucked, but you're going to have that this time of year. He's around 8 strikeouts per 9, and he's somebody who's always struggled with his walks. He looked good in his first start against the White Sox, but let's be real, that's not really a feather in his cap.
Right.
That should be more the expectation than anything else. For me, I think the main reason for his appeal is, number one, the opponents that he's playing and the team that he pitches for. Atlanta should win both of these games just with their amazing offense, regardless of who's toeing the rubber on the other side. If he doesn't walk everyone, he's going to give you some innings, and he's going to give you a great shot at a win in both games.
Yeah, he got you. So he got a no decision on that one, but he did get a quality start, still points. It always helps him in point leagues. A 1.50 ERA and a 1.0 whip. As expected. And what we saw in the spring really was Lopez's velocity was down significantly. But you didn't really see that hurt him, like you mentioned, against the White Sox. Not that strong of a lineup, because he still struck 5 out over 6 1-run innings. I don't know if his upside is fairly limited due to that velocity being diminished, but I think he could pitch well enough to win games, especially like you said, with that Braves lineup backing him. And he's worth adding, especially in points leagues.
So, and one thing to consider too, when you're talking about the velocity, when you see somebody transition from starter to the bullpen, you'll typically see a spike in velo. Well, the inverse is usually true as well, coming out of the bullpen and taking over a spot in the starting rotation. You're no longer a 1 inning, 2 inning max effort guy. You've got to pace yourself a little bit.
All right. Frankie Montas. Take the banner off.
Isn't that your job?
No, you can. Never mind. So we're talking about another Reds pitcher, and you might go, "Why are you doing that?" Well, the matchups are good again against the Brewers and the White Sox. 2, we really wanted to, like Matt mentioned at the top of the show, we're not going to talk about the guys that you can set and forget, like Strider or Gossman or the like. We really wanted to give you guys something more. Those deeper guys that are going to be available in your league, and give you a heads up on the competition. Frankie Montas is I was trying to remove that too, is the highest owned of the 4 guys we've talked about for 2 starts at 47% on Yahoo. He's got the start against the Brewers, start against the White Sox, pitch yesterday, went 5 2/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 5 Ks. He got the win. He's 2-0 already this season so far. He was the opening day pitcher there versus the Nationals, where he had a great game as well. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 Ks. Strikeout percentage, it could be better. It's below average, but his walk percentage at 6.7 is great. That is above the MLB average, or under, I guess, however you want to look at it. But over those 2 starts, he's only allowed 1 run in a total of 11 and 2/3 innings with a .77 ERA. Just fantastic. It looks like, I know he had shoulder surgery in last year, February of 23. That looks to be in the rear view. He's looking pretty good. I think those 2 starts have, really reinforced his status as a fantasy asset so far this season. I think he's makes a strong case for fantasy relevance and is a great, long-term addition to your staff, not just a 2 start for this week.
Sure. And I guess I would say my one concern with him is just that home ballpark, but I'm going to
Sure.
have that concern with any Cincinnati Reds pitcher. He's looked outstanding so far this year. I like how he's done a really good job of limiting the hard contact. And when he's fully healthy, he is a strikeout per inning guy. And really, what more can you ask for than that? He combines that with really limiting the free passes that he issued, like you mentioned. He does kind of have a penchant for giving up a few long balls, though, at times. And that's something that's really going to be magnified with his starts at home, especially as we get towards warmer weather. But right now, we don't give 2 shits about that because at least here in Indianapolis, it's 40 and rainy. In Cincinnati, ain't that far away. Regardless, with that lineup, he's going to get plenty of run support. So when he goes out there, he's going to know that he doesn't have to be perfect every time out. I think he does have some long-term viability. Home games, I do kind of want to play the matchups when at all possible, but sitting there at just under 50% owned in Yahoo leagues, chances are he's available for you. And while he's not quite as sneaky as these other guys, I think he has probably the highest upside of any of the people we've talked about so far.
Yeah. I like him.
You and me both, buddy.
Okay, so that concludes the 2-star pitcher part of our program here. We wanted to highlight a few guys here that on Tuesday we did hot starts, so we want to talk about highlight a few guys that are starting off, kind of as duds, as cold starts this season so far. One of them is Cubs second baseman Nico Hoerner. Really great player. I do love them. This guy, I had him on my team last year until I traded him to Matt in our home league. 6 games played this year so far, 2 for 19. Both of them were singles, scored 4 runs, walked 5 times, struck out 4. He's been hit by a pitch 3 times, 0 stolen bases. He's batting slashing 105, 370. So the on base percentage is good. 105 slugging with just a 4.76 OPS. I mean, the walks and getting hit by the fucking baseball is really his only fantasy value so far. He's only attained 12 total fantasy points on CBS. Now, he had a rough spring training too. 18 games, was 9 for 52, batted 176. Not much else to speak of. Also didn't steal a base as well. And to just not have any stolen bases in spring training or so far in the regular season, when he scored or stole 43 of them last season, is a concern. This is not how he started last season either. So you kind of look back and see if this is a routine with him. Last season in March and April, he hit 328, 367, 437 with an 804 OPS, had a super great walk percentage, super low strikeout percentage of 9.4%, scored 21 runs, knocked in another 17, and was a menace on the base pass, stealing 10 that first month of the season. Digging a little deeper into the data this season so far, there's a new manager there, Craig Counsell. Last season, Hoerner exclusively batted first or second. This season, Counsell's trying something else. Nico has only been leading off against lefties so far this season. Otherwise, he's got him batting 7th. He does bat 32 points higher against lefties than righties last season. His on-base percentage, however, was inverse, was higher against righties, which I think just allowed him to get on base, score more runs, steal more bases. Or maybe it's how well Ian Happ is playing. He leads off against righties and bats 6 when Nico leads off. In 6 games, Happ's having He's hitting 391 with a 935 OPS, averaging 3.5 fantasy points. So I'm interested in how that works out, being that all his at bats were first and second in the lineup last year. It's strange.
Yeah, it really is. We got Loud Boy joining us. Yo, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming through. Look, we were both high on Nico Hoerner coming into the year, right?
Yeah.
And I think of everything that you just talked about, it's not so much that he doesn't have a steal. He doesn't even have a fucking attempt.
Right.
He's not even tried. And that is concerning. Him hitting lower in the order, like, all right, yeah, that sucks because, the Cubs lineup top to bottom, we're not talking about the Dodgers. We're not talking about the Braves. They're still a decent lineup.
Yeah.
But if there's not a whole hell of a lot behind him to move him along on the base paths or to drive him in, the perceived upside that he had coming into the season is no longer there.
Yeah. Had we had known that this was Council's plan, he would have been drafted a bit later.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All that said, if you can find a Nico Hoerner manager who's panicking and can buy low on him, do it.
Sure.
Absolutely do it. The on-base percentage where it's at now, I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks around there for most of the season. The batting average is going to come up. He's not somebody with a whole lot of power to begin with, but, he'll approach 10, 12, 15, whatever the hell it is. He'll get you double-digit home runs, maybe. You weren't, really looking for him to produce runs. At least drive folks in. It was more you were looking for him to score, be that menace on the base paths, and right now it's not happening. It's frustrating. You're not going to bench him because you know what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
If you've already got him on the team, you don't want to try and move him because you're not going to get any kind of return for him. And something to keep in mind, this is us overreacting a little bit to slow
absolutely.
starts. We're having a little bit of fun with this. You're not going to cut his ass. You're not going to trade him. It's been a week, folks. Be patient. Yeah. I don't do shit. I generally don't make any kind of moves or very few moves for the first month of the season because you don't even know who the hell you got. You don't know what your team is.
No. And I think we've said it before, and I know you're a proponent of it as well, as the cold weather is still upon us, and in a lot of these games, and the Tigers-Mets game looked pretty cold. They looked pretty cold Monday night too, but they look pretty cold today as well. So I know you got the next cold start, that rookie phenom from the Reds last year.
Yeah, friggin' A. And apparently this is just going to be a Red show today.
Yeah.
Elly De La Cruz, he's their shortstop, and he's one of the most exciting players in MLB when he's on. So far this year, he's got a 250, 280, 417 triple slash, an OPS just shy of 700. He's 6 for 24 with 12 strikeouts and 1 walk. And we knew coming into the year, strikeouts were a concern, right? We saw it last year, especially towards the end of the year. He's gotten a hit in every game, which I guess is all right. It makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But he's also got 2 or more strikeouts in 4 of 6 games. He's hitting 6th in the order. I wouldn't be surprised if he got dropped down a little bit further. And I was looking back. All right. We know how he started last year. How did he end last year? Well, for the last month of the season, he had a 202, 311, 315 triple slash with 2 home runs and 32 strikeouts and 89 at-bats. Now, obviously, we're not giving up on this guy, especially considering the draft capital you have invested in him. But this year, he's just getting destroyed on off-speed pitches. Like, we know younger hitters, they'll struggle with breaking pitches or off-speed pitches, but we're talking about a dude right now who has a 0 batting average with 4 strikeouts and a 62.5% whiff rate on off-speed pitches. He's only put 2 of them in play. That's fucking pathetic. His overall whiff rate is up 10% to 38.5%. but really he's struggling overall to make contact. A 72.5% zone contact rate, 21.4% chase contact rate.
Yeah.
But again, when he's on, he's one of the most exciting players in the game. You're not going to bench him yet. I want to give him a couple more weeks to try and figure things out, even though he's dragging your shit down. But it's not all been bad. His exit velocity is up early in the season to 94.3 mile an hour, which is a full 3 mile an hour higher than last year. And he's got a 60% hard hit rate. So when he makes contact, he's smoking the shit out of the ball. It's just a matter of putting the bat on the ball for him.
It is. And you mentioned that, and that might be. So his 6 hits is 3 singles, 2 doubles, and a triple. The extra base hits, you'll take them all day. All day. They're nice, but with only 1 run batted in, what's the fucking point?
Yep.
Like, everybody's got to step up there. Like you said, they haven't been playing bad. Still a young guy, still figuring out major league pitching. But, even with pitchers throwing, flamethrowers and shit, they're still throwing more breaking balls than ever. And you have to learn how to hit them.
Yep, you sure do. We got Loud Boy back in the comments. He's learning the hard way with fantasy baseball.
Yep.
Yes. It's, we talked about it in the lead up to the season. The fantasy baseball season is a grind. And just when you look at fantasy baseball compared to fantasy football, the player pool that you need to familiarize yourself with is so much larger.
It's huge. It is.
But baseball is my first love. And for me, this is a labor of love. Look at this guy, 50 moves in a week. Yeah, we've noticed that
we've noticed
you've turned your team over a couple times looking for that right combination.
I think I saw that at one time you picked up a guy, dropped him, and then picked that same guy back up again. So, hey, don't always second guess yourself. Go with your gut. You're doing fine so far. I mean, you're scoring points. So
yeah, that's it. That's the goal. And it takes a little bit of time. Baseball is a very high variance sport. Even the best players go, 0 for 4, or they'll have a 1 for 10 streak.
Crap. Didn't mean to do that so fast. All right. Third baseman with the St. Louis Cardinals, Nolan Arenado, starting off the season cold. In 7 games played, he's just 5 for 29, 4 singles, a double, scored 2 runs, batted 3 in, no walks, struck out 3 times. He's slashing 172, 194, 207 with an even 400 OPS. That is disgusting. That is disgusting. That is, I think a 12-year-old kid could have a better OPS than that, but he's only scored a total of 10.5 fantasy points. Started last year slow too. Okay. 27 for 121 in the months of March and April. Just hit 239 with only 2 home runs and struck out 26 damn times. Almost as many hits as he had. That's sick. Not good. Not good at all. The opening series, I will say, was against the Dodgers. They got outscored 23-14 in those games. And Ramey will appreciate it. The Cardinals are the only team in the NL Central with a negative run differential. Listen, Nolan Arenado is getting old. He's going to be 33 on the 16th of this month, a couple weeks away. He's been remarkably durable through his career. Never really missed games. But he's got a lot of miles due to that. And the Cardinals just are not a good team right now. Supporting cast really matters in fantasy baseball.
It does. I mean, other than hitting a home run, you can't drive yourself in. You can't steal first base. I know you were going to end that quick, and I had to wet my whistle. Dude's only got 1 extra base hit, but at the same time, he's put the ball in play on 24 of his 31 plate appearances. He's just not making good contact. He's got a 25.9% hard hit rate. His average exit velocity is only 84.1 miles an hour. On the bright side, he's only struck out 3 times. He's hitting the ball on the ground more than usual as well. And you look at his BABIP, it's 222. So there's some bad luck in there, but that's tied to the shitty overall contact that he's making. I'm very confident he's going to turn things around. He's not high 30s home runs, Nolan Arenado anymore, especially being out of Colorado. But I don't think he's really starting to appreciably decline yet either. So he's somebody I would preach patience with for sure.
Nice. I know we've talked about a few White Sox. Well, we've brought up the White Sox a couple times already.
We have. And this guy, we kind of debated about him in the preseason, kind of going back and forth. That guy we debated is Luis Robert. He's an outfielder there for the White Sox. Thus far this season, not doing too hot. 250, 286, 600 triple slash. You do like to see such a high slugging percentage. Good for an 886 OPS, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. And you say to me, Matt, that doesn't sound awful. Why in the hell is he on this list? Well, he's got 10 strikeouts in 20 at-bats. And for those of you that don't math too good, that's 50%.
Yeah, he's just as bad as Elly.
Yeah, I mean, coming into play today, he was 1 for his last 12 with 8 strikeouts. He's seeing, and this is a recurring theme here, we've talked about it quite a bit. He's seeing a lot of breaking balls, about 30% of the time, and he's whiffing on those 64% of the time. But you can still say, all right, he's got a 250 average. That's above average, Matt. What are you bitching about? That 250 average is buoyed by a 375 batting average on balls in play, which is 40 points over his career average. But he is hitting the ball damn hard already. He's got a 60% hard hit rate, 92 mile an hour exit velocity, and a 30% barrel rate. So he's another dude. When he gets the bat on the ball, he's doing some shit with it. One thing that really stood out, and granted, this is a small sample, he's only pulling the ball 10% of the time.
Oh, wow.
Which for the archetype of hitter that he is, you wouldn't expect that.
No.
He's being more aggressive at the plate so far early in the season. He's swinging more, especially at the first pitch. There's contact issues, though. He's got a 45.1% whiff rate. He's only making contact on 66.7% of pitches in the zone, or 2/3 of them, which is very low, and a 32.5% chase contact rate. When you're evaluating hitters, especially for fantasy, and really when you're looking at younger guys, the main thing you want to concern yourself with is the hit tool. Can they do the basic thing of the job and put the bat on the ball? And right now, that's where he's struggling.
It is. And, he's coming off a season last year. He had 75 extra base hits, made his first All-Star team. I think he finished, 10th, 11th, somewhere in AL MVP voting. He won a Silver Slugger. He's averaging so far 3 fantasy points per game, which, a lot of times you'll take that. That's not bad. I mean, it's not Mookie Betts, 6-7 points a game and stuff, but who's Mookie Betts, so I expect some of these things to be corrected there a little bit for him, and he'll get going. But, keep in mind the White Sox, like we said before, they're not going to be very good. They're not very good. We'll see. Oh my God. I lost my spot. We got a comment. What do we got here? Dubo on the opposite made like one move, taking the patient approach. I see. Yep, you don't want to drop a guy and have him go off. Yeah, it'll happen. Or you'll conversely, you'll think about picking up this guy. You won't, and then he'll end up going off that week.
Sure, and that's part of the game. Just because so many players are so streaky, and anybody can get hot for 2 weeks.
Yep. All right, headed up to your way there, Dubo. Bailey Ober with the Minnesota Twins. Ouch. That's all I can say. He started one game. You could call it a start, I guess. He only went 1 1/3 inning, faced total of 14 batters, gave up 9 hits, 8 runs, all of them earned, gave up 3 dingers, a walk, and only struck out 1. The batting average against was 6.92, and his ERA, folks, It's hard to see these ones. 5.4.00 ERA. You got negative points, I'm sure. In our home league, he was negative 25 points. Those are the ones that fucking hurt. Give credit to the Royals. They really teed off against much of his arsenal. They mostly hit the shit out of his fastball and his changeup. See, there is guys that can hit off speed. Imagine that. And he gave up a hard hit rate of 58% in that game. To give you some context, MLB average is right around 39%. Now, he's been, I would say, arguably the Twins' most consistent starter since he debuted in 2021, having allowed just 3 or fewer runs in 46 of his 57 career starts entering Sunday before that game. His typical consistency, I think, really sets a relatively high bar for him, but his floor in avoiding blow up starts like this have been equally significant. He hasn't really done that either. I think he'll be fine going forward as well. He had a very strong spring, and his velocity is starting to reach new heights, just figuring some things out. And you can't win everyone, and sometimes you get chased out of games early.
Yeah. Sometimes, man, shit happens. So we got James in the chat. He's in a categories league. Would you trade Garrett Crochet for Garrett Cole? Battle of the Garretts. For me, because it's a categories league, I wouldn't be surprised if both of those guys end up throwing a similar amount of innings. Garrett Cole, because he's been hurt. Crochet, because he only threw a dozen last year, and it's not like the White Sox are going to try and get 180 innings out of the guy. Yeah. Crochet has looked fantastic so far. If it were me, I don't think I would do it. He's pitching damn well. Go ahead and bank those strikeouts and really take the bump that he's giving to your ratios now, as opposed to hoping that Garrett Cole is going to come back in time to make any kind of tangible impact on your team.
Right. I'm with you on that. I really like Crochet. Been starting off good.
Yeah, he really has. I mean, he's got the stuff.
Uncle Ted in the chat. What up, man? Glad to have you aboard. Thanks for the support.
What's up, Unc?
And another one. We got 9 of us in here now. Appreciate you guys, all the support there. Here every Tuesday and Thursday PM at 7 p.m. Eastern, talking fantasy baseball.
Oh yeah, Sway's in the house.
Heck yeah. We can continue Ober on what if you had something to say, or we can just go right.
I don't know. I was paying attention to the chat and stopped paying attention to you. One thing I noticed, and I think you touched on this, his velo is up. He added the cutter. The bugaboo with him has been the home runs. It was the issue last year. We knew that coming into the season. What was kind of disappointing, and you can just charge it to the game and call it what it is. He only had one swinging strike, but he had a 37% chase rate. Yeah. So the stuff is there. He's getting people to chase outside the zone. They just teed off on his ass. 100% zone contact rate, 90% chase contact rate. Get the fuck out of here. Who in the hell makes contact with 90% of the pitches that they swing at outside the damn zone? Like, that just wasn't his day.
Nope, that was not.
If you can buy low on him, do it. We're going to call this one a blip on the radar. All right. The next slow starter we got up, Josh Hader, Houston Astros. Look at the effort there. Just the flowing locks, and he's going to sling that thing in there about 1,000,000 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. He appeared in 4 of the 5 Astros first games. He's only had 1 clean inning so far. He's allowed earned runs in back-to-back appearances. Interestingly, the velo is down on his sinker, but it's up on his slider, and that sinker is getting hit. He's a 333 average against, just a 16.7% whiff rate, but his slider is still devastating. Just a 167 average against and a 43.8% whiff rate. And that's where he's going to get his swing and misses, and that's where he has historically as well. Right now, the numbers don't look great. A 6.75 ERA and a 1.5 whip. backed up by a 4.55 FIP. Look, we all know he's not really pitched all that great so far. I'm not concerned. The one thing you want to keep in mind when we're talking about relievers is we're dealing with such a small sample of innings here that one bad inning or two bad innings can blow you up. And it's going to take a minute to recover, especially in your ERA, because you need several clean innings. You need several scoreless innings to negate what you've done early in the season.
Absolutely.
The whip will come down. The ERA is going to come down. He's going to get plenty of save opportunities with that Houston Astros team. I'm not concerned there. I'm not benching him. He's going to work it out. It's just a little bit of overreaction and a little bit of opportunity to shit talk the Astros and their players a little bit here early in the season.
And it's just not been bad. The 4-game appearances, he's pitched a total of 4 innings, took 2 losses, blew a save on Tuesday versus the Blue Jays. The strikeouts are up. He's got 7 of them, so that's a 41% clip. But like Matt says, it's early. He's got no saves on the year. He's got 1.5 fucking fantasy points total for those 4 games. It'll come back around for sure. Pick you.
Yeah, right. You folks there watching us live, if you have any roster management questions or anything like that, pop them in the chat. We're happy to talk things through with you. One thing that we pride ourselves on here on the Stoned On Sports podcast is not only are we going to give you our answer and our opinion, but we're going to give you the rationale behind it. We're not just going to blurt out a name or yes or no or something like that. We're going to walk through it with you and help lead you to a decision and let you know what we think as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did the same thing for fantasy football. For those of you who have been around with us for a while now, that's the way to do it. Talk things through. I really like doing that as well. We got a couple waiver targets for you to grab. One of them is Michael Conforto, outfielder for the San Francisco Giants. He's just 46% owned in Yahoo leagues. Starting off pretty hot, 7 games. He's 10 for 29. Got 5 singles, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 8 runs is really nice. What are you laughing for? 2 walks, 9 Ks, 0 stolen bases. He's slashing 370, 414, 778 with a 1.192 OPS. He's scoring 4.9 fantasy points per game so far. He's got 34.5 points. You'll take that all damn day. The walk rate, though, is kind of low. Could be a little higher, only 6.9%. And that strikeout rate is just a bit too high still at 31%. He's going to come back to the mean. I'll tell you why. All 7 games that I just talked about, his stats there, were all on the road. So he's going to go back home to Oracle Park. That's a pitcher's park, folks. 24th park in runs scored. He only had 15 home runs in 125 games last season playing with the San Francisco Giants. And I'll point out 9 of those 15 were on the road. If you're desperate to start him, maybe only start him on the road, matchup depending. He hits about the same career on the road versus home. So overall, whatever, but that's my take on it. He's going to come back to the mean. There's no way he's going to keep that up there, especially the park that he plays in.
Sure. You're absolutely right, but there is a little bit of validity in what he's doing. The triple slash looks nice now. You like the power numbers. You like that he's driven in quite a few folks as well. That batting average is not sustainable. He's got a 467 BABIP right now. There's no way in hell that is not going to fly. That's going to come down 100 points. And at least.
Yeah.
And I think his average will too. I think he's somewhere around a 250, 260 hitter, which is still above average for the majors. But he's making good contact, a 50% hard hit rate, 93.2 mile an hour average exit velocity, and he's making good contact overall in and out of the zone. He's got a 25.9% whiff rate so far in the season, but that's pretty much in line with what his career averages are. And over the course of his career, he's been better than most at drawing walks. So I think the on-base percentage is going to play. Obviously, that's going to come down as well, but I don't see any reason why he can't hover in that 350 range. I like him better in points leagues, like in what we play, or on base percentage leagues than I do batting average leagues. And remember, like when we're talking about these waiver wire targets, we're not advocating for them for the rest of the year. We're saying, hey, these dudes are hot. And if you can jump on them for the next week or 10 days to help bank those stats, to help bank those wins in points leagues, do it. You know, if you're picking up Michael Conforto, chances are you're cutting the last dude on your bench.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Michael Conforto then becomes the last dude on your bench.
Yeah. Churning over those couple utility spots is something that works for me all the time. Before we get to our last waiver target, we got James back in the chat. Category league, he was offered Nico Hoerner for Muncie. Any advice would be appreciated. Great show. Thanks a lot, man. If you haven't, give us a like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Mention him here we're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Nico from Muncie. How do you feel about that, man?
You know, a lot of that is going to come down to how my team is built and what I'm looking for. If I feel like I can spare the power that Max Muncy is going to bring, if I've got, you know, 2 or 3 other dudes who are going to give me some pop and give me some run production, I'll look at it. Like we talked about towards the top of the show and the top of this segment, Nico Hoerner is not stealing bases yet. He's not attempted a steal. And that is the big reason why you want him on the team. And he's also not hitting towards the top of the order anymore, at least against same side right-handed pitching. That's also a concern because the further down in the batting order you go, the fewer at-bats and plate appearances you're going to receive over the course of the season. You know, I know that's not really a full do this or don't do this answer. I think I would stand pat for now. You know, we're only 5 or 6 games into the season, and we don't really know what our teams are or are not yet. And we want to give it a month, 6 weeks to really see what's up.
Yeah, but I know you've mentioned it before. A lot of times your goal is to be, you know, at 500 after that 6-week mark. See what you got, see where you go, and then go from there and really give it hell. Great question, James. Appreciate you popping in. Here for you anytime. In the comments, in the chat, doesn't matter. We will respond to you in a pretty timely manner.
Yeah. And we got Uncle Ted looking to vindicate himself. It looks like there you with starters late. And just for a little background, old Lunk here, he's an advocate of not taking any starting pitching before round 10. He talks about Alec Marsh, starter for the Royals. He had a nice outing. I think there's a bit of smoke and mirrors there as well. He got pretty lucky with that. His expected stats as far as expected slugging and expected average against are pretty damn low. I think in the bottom 10th percentile. And his BABIP for that game was just 111. So there was quite a bit of luck in there.
Heck yeah. Against the Orioles, no accidents against that team. Yes.
That's a fair point, Unc. That's a fair point.
All right, one more waiver target. We just mentioned him earlier in James's first question. Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
With the White Sox.
You want to let me bring up my own picture here or what?
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. All right, Garrett Crochet. So this is a dude we touched on. I got to quit saying that we're touching on, guys. You know, he is a converted reliever. He started out pretty damn well so far at 1-1, a 1.38 ERA, just a .692 whip, 16 strikeouts against 1 walk, and he's only allowed 2 earned runs. He is a little bit more highly owned than what we typically cover here in these segments. You know, as of the time I put together my notes here earlier today, he was 57% owned. But we knew the strikeout upside was there before this season. He had 65 and 54 and a third innings pitched in 2021. He missed all of 2022 with injury, and he only appeared in 13 games last season. but his velo is up. He's got some nice swing and miss with him, a 31.9% whiff rate and a 27.6% chase rate. And he's somebody who's always done pretty well at limiting hard contact, which is nice. Walks have been the issue for him.
Yeah.
But so far, so good.
Only one.
Right? I mean, the only way you can do better than one is none. The issue with him is going to be how many innings is he going to get? He had just 12 innings pitched last year. They're not going to run him out there for 180 innings. I imagine his cap is going to be somewhere in that 100 to 120 innings mark, and that's going to be on the high side.
Yep.
Because there is no need to have him go out there and overwork in what's going to be a season where they ain't doing shit. And that's saying a lot coming from a Tigers fan because they ain't done shit either in the past few years, but the White Sox are even going to do less shit than the Tigers have done. That's how bad they are. But still, he's a damn good piece. It seems his ratios are going to be okay. If he's got the whole walks thing figured out, you're looking at a very damn good pitcher here, just a pitcher with a ceiling this season.
Yeah, 44 total fantasy points in those two starts, just amazing. You mentioned he was 57% owned in Yahoo. He's only available in 23% in CBS leagues, and in ESPN leagues, he's still available in almost 75% of leagues. So if you're in a Yahoo or an ESPN league, you should add him now. So drop AJ Puck, drop Ryan Pepio, drop Charlie Morton, drop someone. I think he's showing too much upside right now for you to let him stay on the wire, and you'll figure the rest out later. Like Matt mentioned, he's might not pitch that much. You'll figure the rest out later. Take those points now. Did amazing against the Braves. I didn't think he would. Racked up 18 swinging strikes, showing a bit more depth in his repertoire as well. Picking up 9 whiffs from his fastball, 5 from his slider, and 4 with his cutter. He's far from a sure thing. His command still seems less than ideal, but I really like him.
Me too. And I hate saying that about rival teams' players.
Right.
But when it comes to fantasy sports and your fantasy investments, we make our moves with our head and not our heart, usually.
Absolutely. James is back with another question. Great advice on the last question. Thanks a lot, man. Could you share your thoughts about Paul Skeens? He's got a beautiful girlfriend.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes, he does. Congrats to him.
Yes.
Short answer, there's a damn good reason he's a number 1 pitching prospect in all of baseball. A little bit longer answer. Even though he is the number 1 pitching prospect in all of baseball and he looked fantastic at LSU, he's got a little bit of work to do with his command. I think he's going to be down in the minors for probably another month, maybe 6 weeks. Going into spring training, he was basically told, you're not making the rotation no matter what you do. For better or worse, that's a decision that the Pirates brass went with. I think he can come up right now and at minimum be a solid low end SP2 for you with just massive upside. The Pirates are a team, they're off to a hot start. They're a team, and I think I used this phrase before when we were talking about O'Neal Cruz, they are long on potential. But it's going to depend on how some of those young players can put things together, like Paul Skeens. I think he's got fantastic strikeout upside. I think he would give you a solid ERA and a solid whip. The big concern with him would be how many wins is he going to get? Because even if he only allows 2 runs, if he only gets 1 run of support, it's not going to matter.
That's true.
And unless you're in, James, you were talking earlier that you're in a categories league, unless quality starts as one of your categories, you're missing out. But wins are incredibly hard to predict because so much is out of a pitcher's control that generally season over season, I don't even try to. And the same thing goes with ERA because, again, there's so much out of the pitcher's control. But no, he is a fantastic prospect. If he's on your waivers and you've got a big enough bench, I'm okay with stashing him because I think he'll be up sooner rather than somebody like Jackson Jobe, who is, at least to me, the number 2 starting pitcher prospect, but I'm not expecting him up until later in the year, probably after the All-Star break.
Yeah, and Skeens is, he's going to bring it eventually when he gets there. I mean, really the most heralded pitcher since Strasburg, probably, right?
Yeah. Whenever he comes up, he's up for good.
Yeah. He's a prototypical power pitcher, upper 90s fastball that can reach triple digits. He's got a real devastating slider as well that sits in the upper 80s there with a real, incredible break and depth and massive whiff rates of north of 60% on that slider pitch. He's just going to be fantastic when he gets the starts, gets the time.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you coming through, James.
Yeah, great question, James. Awesome. All right. That wraps her up for tonight, I believe. If anybody's got any other last minute questions, we can answer some. Yeah, baseball. Love it.
For sure. And if you haven't already, drop us a like and subscribe. Again, we're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we put out the odd long form video every now and then as well too. If you can't catch us live, drop your questions down in the comments or just talk a little trash. We're here for it either way. So we're on that drive to 200 subscribers. We're getting close. And then once we hit that benchmark, we're moving on to the next one.
Awesome. Everybody have a great night. Appreciate it, everyone. Stay stoned.
See ya.